Does it technically make me a thief if I steal from my own kitchen? I don't think so. I don't think so. Today we are gonna go over everything I steal from my own kitchen cabinet that does make guppy keeping a lot easier for me, and I guarantee you if you have these items, which you do, it will make your life a lot easier too if you want to keep guppy fish. And the first thing on that list, I will have to say, you might not have it in your kitchen cabinet, but I guarantee you, you have them somewhere in your house, and you can get them relatively easily and cheap, and that's buckets. Don't ever turn down a free bucket if you are a fish keeper or you ever plan on being a fish keeper. A 5-gallon bucket, and honestly a bucket of any size, will make your life a lot easier. I may or may not have more buckets in my collection. You use buckets for water changes. I use buckets for emergency holding tanks. I've bred fish in a 5-gallon bucket, I'm not gonna lie. And having buckets is so helpful, and you can never, ever have too many buckets for your fish room. Second thing on the list, I will have to say, fishnets are really important when it comes to fish keeping, but I have a favorite fishnet recently when it comes to catching fry and guppies, and it's actually a shrimp net. This thing, I guess it's because it goes up and down, I'm not really sure, but it's a little bit different than a typical fish net, but this right here is my absolute favorite net, and I never would have thought I would have seen the day where I have a favorite fish net. I do like to clean these in vinegar and water and then let them air dry, but this right here, I do believe, if I remember right, it was a gift from Joe's Shrimp Shack back in the day at one of the Aquashellas. But this right here, it's my favorite. Next thing on the list when it comes to items I have 100% stole from myself, and I'm not a person that normally hangs on to things, but if there's something that is remotely useful for the fish room and the guppy tanks, I will hang on to it forever. And I will also take things from myself. And when it comes to little bitty containers like this, I mean, this is a pup cup, a shot glass, anything like this. I find these incredibly useful when it comes to guppies, especially when the fry are at the surface when I'm feeding them and I do want to move them to a separate tank. I will feed them, let them come up to the surface, and then I will just lightly scoop them up in these little containers. This one is a favorite. I think I got this from a laundry detergent container of some sort back in the day, but I do sterilize them. I don't use them right out of the laundry detergent tub, but nothing is safe around me. And yes, that includes Tupperware. If I find something like this that I can use to scoop guppy fry or guppy in, these are really nice because you can scoop them up and it floats at the top, and you can never have too many of them. And that goes for specimen containers too. This one's filthy, but I never thought that I needed one of these. I saw them around at the store, but I was like, no, I'm okay. But these are so helpful when it comes to guppies and really most smaller fish. And if you are worried about how many you need, always buy 2 more. I have 1 and I probably could use 5, but they are so helpful when you're getting ready to move fish, add fish, if you have a sick fish, just anything. These little containers like this are so unbelievably helpful when it comes to, every once in a while I might need to use salt for some reason, and these are really good for dissolving the salt first. There's just so many different reasons why these are helpful, and I cannot tell you enough. If you have a good scoop, a good pup cup, a good specimen container, they will make your life a lot easier when it comes to keeping guppies. One more thing when it comes to guppies is, I guarantee you have them in your drawer too, measuring cups. These, I get mad at my own self, honestly, when I'm going to cook, which according to Jessie is rarely, but whenever I go to do something in the kitchen, I'm like, who stole the measuring spoons? And of course, it's me. But these are so helpful when it comes to feeding, when it comes to measuring out medicines, even sometimes, honestly, just like the containers, you can scoop guppy fry out really quickly if you're moving them a short distance. There's just numerous reasons why these are helpful. Medicine things from when the kids were smaller, these I really like when it comes to feeding baby brine shrimp, freshly hatched baby brine shrimp. These are really helpful. I'll drain it into a container and then I'll just kind of scoop them out like this, and then I'll feed them right to the guppies and the guppy fry, and they are so helpful. Another thing I guarantee you probably have that I don't think I've ever used in the kitchen, but I use it all the time in the fish room when it comes to the grow out containers that are too small to do a typical water change, but that is a turkey baster. These are so helpful for spot cleaning certain tanks. A couple of the smaller bedded tanks, the fry tanks, anything I need to spot clean, this is so helpful. And I know I've never used this in the kitchen, but anytime I see one upstairs in the kitchen, I grab it and just bring it down here. It's so helpful. And I do have, these clamps are probably a given when it comes to fish room tools. I use them all the time when it comes to water changing, but to clamp the hose or the aquarium vac or anything that I need to just clamp on really quickly. Sometimes I use them to clamp lights. I've used them to clamp things like this to the side of the tank. I've used them for the curtains back here. There's just so many different useful purposes for these clamps. They usually come in a multi-pack, and I do prefer these smaller sizes. I think they're a little bit more useful in the fish room, but I do definitely use the larger clamps too when it comes to drying out the catappa leaves that I've shared with you in a past video. The larger clamps really work for that. But anytime you see these at the hardware store, get them. Also, another helpful tool that I never really expected to find useful in the fish room that I find more helpful than not, and I record on my phone, so I can't show you at the moment, but that's a flashlight. I use my phone's flashlight, even sometimes when there are bright lights on the tank, sometimes a little extra light at the corner when you're trying to spot fry or shrimp or anything in your tank that sometimes isn't supposed to be there. Every once in a while, since I am in the basement, I'll find some kind of critter. It's usually in this tank, honestly, but anytime you need to identify something that's going on in your tank, and sometimes you do need a little extra light, and having a couple flashlights in the fish room is actually really helpful to just get that little extra look at a fry's coloration that you couldn't normally get with just a regular aquarium light. And occasionally you do have some things that's going on in your tank that you just need a better look at, whether it's a plant, a fry, a shrimp. There's just all kinds of reasons why you need to get a closer look, and having a flashlight is really helpful to get that little extra peek you might need. There is another helpful tool when it comes to the guppy tanks, and honestly a few of the other tanks in the fish room too, that I never expected that I would put on the list of things I needed, but that's skewer sticks, and I find these helpful. They do come a little extra pointy on one end, and I usually just snap this part off right here. I'll just snap it off so it's not so pokey, but I have been using a couple of my aquascaping tools now in replacement of these, but I have these in the fish room at all times, and I'll use them 1 or 2 times and then throw them away. I don't keep them very long, but just to kind of shoo things away, or if you need to move things just a little bit in the aquarium, or kind of get a better look at what's in the substrate. There's all kinds of reasons why I will gravitate towards this in the fish room. And I never, ever would have thought that a skewer stick would be helpful in the fish room, but it 100% is. I will have to share with you that I used to refill all of my tanks 1 gallon at a time. I had a 1 gallon drinking water jug that I had saved, and on Sundays I would spend all day water changing and refilling all of my tanks. And going to the hardware store and buying this 100% changed everything. I really enjoy the time that I spend with my fish while I'm water changing, but it has made my life a whole lot easier. I do have these pumps now. I have 2 of them, and I have it on a water hose, and then on the end I have this nozzle that I can speed the flow up or slow it down. Some of the tanks I need it quite slow, and others I can speed it up to a pretty quick rate because they enjoy playing in the flow of the water. But this right here, having this trash can and this pump, and then being able to pump this out into the garden, has made water changes so much easier and not quite as time consuming where it takes the entire day. I do hope you found this video helpful and just give you a quick look at some of the tools that I use in the fish room that are a little unconventional, that you can find really easily and really cheaply, because most of the time they're in your own kitchen and you can just steal them from yourself. But again, help share this video out, leave it a like, and leave me a comment too on what's an unconventional tool that you use in your fish room. But I hope you have a good rest of the day. Thanks for being here with me, and I will see you in the next one.